Why Bron Breakker betrayed Seth Rollins on Raw. Seth Rollins just got betrayed, speared, and tsunami'd by his own teammates, and honestly, you should have seen it coming. The post-Crown Jewel edition of Raw was absolute chaos, and by the end of the night, Seth Rollins was no longer the leader of the Vision. In fact, he wasn't even a member anymore. Bron Breakker speared him into oblivion, Bronson Reed flattened him with a tsunami, and Paul Heyman revealed himself as the puppet master who orchestrated the whole thing. Welcome back to the Wrestling Hidden Insight, and today we're breaking down the 3 biggest reasons why the Vision just kicked Seth Rollins to the curb in one of the most shocking betrayals in recent WWE history. Let's set the scene because the chaos didn't come out of nowhere. Raw opened with a triple threat match to determine the #1 contender for Seth Rollins' World Heavyweight Championship. CM Punk vs. LA Knight vs. Jey Uso. 3 of the hottest names on Raw, all fighting for the right to challenge Seth. And CM Punk, being CM Punk, won the match and became the official #1 contender. Great match, clear outcome, everything seemed normal. But then the Vision came out. Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, and the music hit, and they stormed the ring to attack Punk, Knight, and Uso. Standard heel stable behavior, right? Soften up the competition, make a statement, show dominance. Except that's not where the story ended. Because after they took out Punk, Knight, and Uso, Bron Breakker turned around and speared Seth Rollins. His own teammate. His own leader. The guy who brought him into this group. The arena went silent for a split second before erupting because nobody saw that coming. And then Bronson Reed climbed to the top rope and hit a tsunami on Seth, just to make sure the message was crystal clear. And then, in the most Paul Heyman moment possible, the wise man walked out, stood between Breakker and Reed, and raised both of their hands. The true leader of the Vision had been revealed, and it wasn't Seth Rollins. It was Paul Heyman all along. Raw went off the air with that image, with Seth laid out in the ring, with the Vision standing tall without him, and with the entire wrestling world asking one question. What? Well, there are 3 reasons that make sense when you piece together everything that's been happening, and we're going to break them all down. Let's start with the most practical and least dramatic reason, but the one that might actually be the truth behind all of this. Seth Rollins might be legitimately injured, and WWE needed a way to write him off television without just having him disappear. Remember Crown Jewel? Remember that insane coast-to-coast diving headbutt Seth hit on Cody Rhodes? The one where he landed awkwardly on his arm and you could see him grimacing for the rest of the match? Yeah, that might have been more than just selling. There have been widespread rumors since Crown Jewel that Seth potentially injured his hand or arm during that match. And there's photographic evidence backing this up. Seth was spotted wearing an arm sling in a viral picture that's been making the rounds on social media. Now, WWE hasn't officially confirmed anything, and they're keeping details close to the vest, but where there's smoke, there's usually fire. If Seth is legitimately hurt and needs time off to recover, WWE can't just have him show up on Raw and say, "Hey guys, I'm injured, see you in a few weeks." That kills momentum. That breaks kayfabe. That makes everything feel less important. So instead, Triple H and the creative team used this betrayal angle to write Seth off television in a way that's dramatic, shocking, and gives them story options for when he comes back. Seth gets the time he needs to heal. The Vision gets elevated as a legitimate threat without needing Seth anymore. And when Seth returns, he's got a built-in revenge storyline against the guys who kicked him out of his own group. It's smart booking that serves multiple purposes, and it protects Seth's health while keeping the story moving forward. But let's say the injury isn't the main reason, or maybe it's just a convenient excuse to pull the trigger on something that was always going to happen. Let's talk about reason number 2, which is all about Seth's attitude and how he treated his teammates leading up to this moment. Because if you've been paying attention to Raw over the past few weeks, Seth has been acting like he's better than everyone else in the Vision. And when you act like you're better than your teammates, eventually they're going to make you prove it by yourself. On the most recent episode of Raw, Seth cut a promo where he basically said he's done great things on his own and he doesn't need the Brons to be successful. The Brons? That's what he called Bron Breakker and Bronson Reed. Like they're interchangeable parts. Like they're accessories to his success rather than legitimate stars in their own right. That's disrespectful. That's the kind of thing that breeds resentment. Bron Breakker is a second-generation superstar with an incredible pedigree and even more incredible talent. Bronson Reed is a powerhouse who just pinned Roman Reigns at Crown Jewel. These aren't guys you can just brush off as supporting players in your story. Seth's overconfidence, his tendency to take credit for everything, his inability to recognize that maybe he needed the Vision as much as they needed him, all of that created the perfect storm for betrayal. Breakker and Reed looked at each other and probably thought, "Why are we helping this guy who clearly doesn't respect us? Why are we doing his dirty work when we could be going after championships ourselves? And that realization led to the spear, the tsunami, and the end of Seth's time in the Vision. It's classic wrestling storytelling. The arrogant leader who doesn't appreciate what he has gets a harsh lesson in humility. And Seth is about to learn that lesson the hard way. Now let's get to the most interesting reason, the one that's been building for longer than people might realize. Seth Rollins pissed off Paul Heyman, and when you disrespect the wise man, there are consequences. The seeds of this betrayal weren't planted on Raw. They were planted on SmackDown before Crown Jewel. Paul Heyman had a game plan. He told Seth exactly what to do. He laid out a strategy that would give them the advantage against Cody Rhodes. And what did Seth do? He ignored Heyman completely, rushed in to attack Cody, and got taken out with a crossroads for his trouble. Heyman was visibly upset. He stopped Braun and Bronson from helping Seth and walked away in frustration. That moment right there was Paul Heyman realizing that Seth Rollins wasn't going to listen to him, wasn't going to follow the plan, and wasn't going to respect his leadership. And Paul Heyman doesn't forget. He doesn't forgive. He plots. He schemes. He waits for the perfect moment to make his move. And that perfect moment came on Raw when he orchestrated Seth's removal from the Vision. Here's the thing about Paul Heyman. He's been called the Oracle for a reason. He's one of the greatest minds in wrestling history. He's guided careers, built empires, and manipulated situations to his advantage for decades. So when Seth decided that he knew better than Heyman, when he decided to do things his own way instead of following the wisdom of a Hall of Famer, he signed his own death warrant within the Vision.